Hello, hello, and thank you again for clicking on this video. I'm Anthony White, and you're watching The Experience. Recently, we had the opportunity to sit down with self-made woman, motivational speaker, YouTube personality, and author Shamieka Dean. We spoke about her book, Positioning Myself to Be a Wife, what inspired her to write the book, and the life journey she took in order to write it. It was quite the interview. Check it out. All right, Shamieka Dean, welcome to The Experience. YouTube personality, motivational speaker, author, minister. Like, you have so many hats. Like, how do you do it? Oh, and please, I can't forget, mother, wife. How do you focus all that into one, and with your ministry and with your company?
Really just making sure that I take care of Shamieka first,
Okay.
you know, because I'm only as good to everybody else as I am to myself first. So if I'm not taking care of me, I'm really no good to my husband, my children, my business, my ministry, or any of that.
Wow, that is amazing. And what, let's just get right into the book. This is positioning yourself to be a wife. And let me tell you, I am a 33-year-old black man. I'm not positioning myself to be nobody's wife. But this is just a good read. It's just it's a page turner. I'm the type of person, I don't read a lot, but this, I couldn't stop turning the page.
Wow.
The book is Positioning Yourself to Be a Wife. It has been, how long has this book been out?
It was released May of 2017.
All right, so
about
a year. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to write such a compelling story?
Transparency and truth to help set others free. If I would have to sum it up, that would really be why, because, you know, it just entails my process of restoration after my husband and I divorced. And I penned it in the book to let other people know exactly what I had to go through to be the wife that I needed to be. But I couldn't be the wife that I needed to be until I became the woman I was purposed to be first.
Oh, that's powerful. And in this book, you hit some very hard subjects, such as rape.
Yes.
How did that shape you, and how did it mold you to where you are today?
Well, when you go through rape, it takes so many things from you. It takes your voice, it takes your identity, it damages your self-worth. And so going through that, it really took so much out of me, and I had to fight to get that back.
Oh my God.
You know, I had to fight to find who Shamieka really was, what she's worth, what she's put on this earth to do. And I had to get to a place where no matter what happened in my life, no one, no situation or circumstance was going to be able to decrease my value anymore. And because that's what rape did to me. So that's why now I focus so much on making sure that each and every day I know who I am. I know that I'm beautiful. I know that I'm, you know, intelligent. I know that I'm put here for a purpose. Because again, when you go through rape, it pretty much takes everything from you.
Wow.
It really does.
Now, you weren't raped just once.
No, I was raped twice, and I was fondled another time.
Wow.
Yes.
And, you know, you also talk in the book about your relationship with your father, and how estranged it was. Give us a little bit of insight of how the relationship with your father changed you and what the relationship is now with your father.
Okay. Well, the relationship that I had with my father was no relationship initially. When we would see each other, it would be like, you know, strangers, hi, bye, and keep it moving. And my father lived 2 minutes driving distance away from me. He had a wife, he had children, literally 2 minutes. And he never came by for a birthday. You know, he just we didn't have a relationship at all. And so when I got married, one of the things that God told me was that I had to forgive my father. I had to forgive my father, because prior to my husband, every guy that I was in a relationship with was symbolic of my father in some fashion. So that constant rejection, I held on to those relationships because in my mind, I felt if I could get one man to stay, it would prove my father wrong. It would prove that I am worth being, you know, loved, accepted for who I am. But I had to forgive my father. So I wrote him a letter. And when I went by to give it to him, he wasn't there, but his wife was. So I left it with his wife. And she contacted me the next day and said, you know, can you come by because your father wants to talk to you? She said when he read your letter, he just broke down in tears.
Wow.
So I went to basically pretty much meet my father, you know, for the first time. really having a real conversation with him.
So you made that step
I
to
made
meet
the
him.
choice,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because I was tired of being angry at him,
Right.
you know. And so I went, we talked, and long story short, my father said to me, he said, it's not that I didn't want to be in your life. I felt like I didn't deserve to be in your life.
Oh my.
Okay.
Wow.
So he felt like he was really unworthy of being in my life because he knew he hadn't participated in, you know, in anything. And so I told him, I said, well, we can't change the past, but here's what I'm expecting from this point forward.
Right.
And he did that. So we developed a relationship from there. And then 2 years after that, he passed away.
Oh, wow. So he passed away since then. I think that's a powerful point that a lot of people, you know, have a stigma on deadbeat fathers, but never really understand what the purpose was. And though there's no excuse for not being, you know, living 2 minutes away, but it was powerful, even reading the book, where he said, I didn't deserve to be in your life, that he felt as if you deserved something better, or if he was in your life, it would hinder the life that you had.
Yes.
Very, very powerful.
Yes.
But the fact that you two were able to come together before his passing, that was awesome. That was impactful. And speak a little bit about your marriage, because you spoke about how you and your husband were divorced, but you and your husband are married now.
Yes.
The same husband.
Yes, the same one.
Right, praise God. So speak a little bit about the relationship y'all had. What led you to dissolving with the marriage, and what brought you back together?
Oh my God, so...
And all this is in the book. You want to read it, it's in the book, but go ahead.
So many things, you know, that took place. We didn't know how to love each other, for one.
Wow.
I was trying to love him the way that I received love, and he was trying to love me the way that he received love, and we both were missing the mark.
Oh, wow.
So we really didn't know how to love each other. Communication was absolutely horrific.
Man.
You know, I was still having temper tantrums, you know. He was still shut down because he didn't know how to communicate.
Wow.
Not even understanding what marriage was, what our roles are in the marriage as husband and wife, not having a good example of what a good marriage is, or especially a marriage that's based on Christian principles, you know, and also not being healed from the wounds of our past.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
You know, that was the biggest thing,
right.
Because all of those wounds just really resurface inside the marriage, because marriage doesn't change who you are. It just enhances what's already in, you know, it reveals what's already on the inside of you. It exposes those things.
Wow.
So if you have deep-rooted insecurities, marriage is going to bring that out. If you have anger issues, marriage is going to bring that out. You know, if you have commitment issues, marriage is going to bring that out. Because your spouse is the one person, I believe, that can push your buttons in a way that no one else can.
Right.
You know? And so I tell people all the time, they didn't make you do anything, and they didn't change who you were. They just revealed what was already on the inside of you.
Wow. That was a quick nugget. That was a postable. You put that on Facebook. That is good. I wanted to go through some of the key points in the book, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So, and this is for anybody. Now, of course, it's to position yourself to be a wife, but, you know, like I said before, I'm a man, and I felt like this is a really, really good read. And I think that not only is it to position yourself to be a wife, but being a wife is a major commitment. So for me, I had to sort of adapt it into positioning myself to start a big venture or to sort of move into a new life. And so that's kind of why I took all these nuggets I can apply to my life personally. So let's start off. This was actually one of the first points and a good point. It said a single married woman, a woman who is married but has a heart, mind, and actions of a single woman. Could you explain that just a little bit more?
Yes, it's basically when you don't understand that there's not, you know, the I becomes we, you know. So everything that I had before my marriage, even including my 2 children, because I had 2 children prior to marriage. You know, these are my kids. This is my money. This is my car. This is my house. You know, and I really wasn't in the right mindset to even become a wife, because I didn't understand the power of being one.
Wow.
You know, I didn't understand the power of being one. And where there's unity, God commands the blessings.
Right.
So there was really... The enemy was really setting me up to tear down my own house, but I didn't even realize it. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
Because I didn't understand that the more I become one with my spouse, the more the blessings of God flows in our lives. Like the more prosperity we have, you know, and even the beauty of being in a relationship with someone that you love. You know, sacrificing yourself but not losing your individuality.
Wow, that's good.
You see what I'm saying?
I see very, very well what you're saying. And then we go into revisiting your pain. Now that could be hard for people.
Oh,
A lot of people sometimes will put their pain on the back burner and they will block it out. What is the positive of revisiting pain?
Well, you can't heal what you won't face. You can suppress it, you can keep going on through life, but if you don't heal the wound of the 10-year-old little girl, you're gonna be a 30-year-old woman with the 10-year-old mindset.
Oh, wow.
10-year-old pain, 10-year-old wounds, and you're still gonna react from that place of pain instead of a place of healing and wholeness. So you have to go backwards before you can move forward.
Wow.
Because you have to find out, why do I think like this? Why do I react? Why am I so angry about this?
Wow.
Why does this irritate me so much? And until you go back to the root of the thing, you can never destroy it. Roots need to be destroyed, not just plucked up, not just, you don't need to just dig them up. You need to destroy them, which means erase the very evidence of that thing.
Wow, that is really good. And the good thing I like about this book is that it's sort of broken up in three and sort of three aspects. You have purge, prepare, and position.
Yes.
And so those are some of the aspects out of the purge, but I also want to get into the prepare as well.
Okay.
One of it says, love and actions can't flow through a heart that is callous. What do you mean by that?
A hardened heart. A hardened heart. We have been taught to protect ourselves, guarding our hearts. You guard your heart,
Right.
because out of it flows the issues of life, right?
Right.
But here's the thing, when you harden your heart, nothing can flow in or out. Because there's a block there. It's like a wall of stone that's there that doesn't allow anything to penetrate through it. And what also happens is when you're trying to protect yourself, you also prevent God's ability to heal.
That is deep. That's deep. And with all of that, and when we talk about a callous or a hardened heart, it would suggest that all the problems and issues that you went through from a child on up could have caused that. And any other independent woman would say, well, then don't let no man come in and tear down your walls. But what do you tell that woman who's struggling with, do I allow myself to be exposed and loved in a marriage, or do I allow myself to stay hardened and callous? How do you sort of let them still have their independency with being able to let a man be a man, or let a relationship flow naturally without having someone getting a chisel and knocking down a wall? How do you sort of separate the two?
Well, you have to understand that being strong and being a woman of strength are two different things. Wow. Okay. Sometimes you can be so strong.
That's good.
You can be so strong that you push away the help that you really need.
Wow.
And so admitting that you need help doesn't make you any less of a person or a woman. And a woman of strength will say, I'm strong enough to do this by myself, but I'm also strong enough to let you do it because I understand it doesn't take away from my strength.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. And as a father of two women, even though they're still girls, but I always, because they're going to grow to two women, that's the one thing that I actually took from the book and was able to impart with my children, with my daughter. I'm teaching her, go get a degree, go and, be independent as much as you can, but when a man wants to come in, let a man be a man. Allow himself, and like you said, being strong is being able to say, hey, I could do this,
right,
but I'm allowing you to do it.
I'm allowing you to.
I love it. That's another posterable. And one last point that I wanted to hit was, how are soul ties formed in bad relationships or toxic relationships? How are those soul ties? Could you speak heavily about soul ties? How are those formed in relationships?
Soul ties can be, you have good soul ties and bad soul ties, of course. The good soul ties are when it's not, when it's good for you, and bad is when it's bad for you. So the toxic relationships. But soul ties can be formed through any means. Most of the times it's formed through sex. But it can also be formed through your brokenness. Because you attach yourself to someone who you feel validates you.
Wow.
Someone you feel like you can't live without. And that's when you don't know who you are. That's when you're broken. That's when you're still seeking approval and acceptance. Rejection is another way that soul ties are formed. Unforgiveness is another way that soul ties are formed. So there are many different ways that they're formed, but a lot of times we don't even realize that our soul is still tied to someone else. But one of the ways I have people to realize this is I say, look at the pattern in your relationships Are you constantly attracting the same type of people into your life?
Wow.
Because if you are, it means that there's a soul tie somewhere that hasn't been severed. It hasn't been destroyed.
Wow.
And if you still have hatred in your heart towards that last person, you're still tied to them because your emotions are still there.
Wow. Wow, that is very, very powerful. And I don't want to give too much away the book because I really want people to get this book. This is a great summer read, and it's not that it's not that thick. It really is. It can be done in one sitting. If someone wanted to order your book, how can they go about doing that?
They can go to Amazon.com. You can type in my name; it'll pull up that book as well as one of the other books that I published.
Great.
Or you can go to my website, ShamiekaDean.com, and click on books, and you can find it there.
Now, you're also a motivational speaker. You go around I cannot get in touch with her because she's in Atlanta, Detroit, Texas. I mean, it's just hard to get, so thank you for being with us. But what is your focus when you are a part of these packed out events? How do you, where sort of is what you do when you go and you speak amongst these women in these different events?
Restoration.
Okay.
Restoration is always my goal.
Wow.
To help you restore what was lost, which could be your identity, which could be your self-worth, which could be your happiness, which could be your peace. To help you restore yourself to a position of wholeness, not perfection, but wholeness, so that you can really live life, not just exist, so that you can be the best version of yourself, so that you'll be an asset to everything and everybody that you're called to serve.
Wow. Y'all heard it. I mean, this is amazing. Again, please go to Amazon.com, and you'll find a link even on this show. And I want to thank you, Shamieka Dean, for being with us on the experience. It has blessed my soul. And we are also working on an adaptation for positioning yourself to be a wife called Positioning Myself. So be looking out for that as well.
Yes.
Again, this is Shamieka Dean. I'm Anthony White, and thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you.
What an awesome interview. I want to thank Shamieka Dean again for sitting down with us and having just a good old-fashioned conversation. I hope y'all are taking notes. Be sure to join us next week when I speak to gospel artist Norez as he talks to us about his CD, Invisible, and the work that inspired it. Again, I'm Anthony White, and you've been watching The Experience. See you next week.